Ladies and gents, welcome back. This is less a story about what's going on in Ukraine as it is a story about the reaction from many Canadians on the Prime Minister and the top brass in his cabinet going over for a photo op in a war-torn country. We have here first and foremost from Jordan B. Peterson saying on Twitter, "Fix your own country, Justin Trudeau. Canada's fossil fuel could have reduced European dependency on Russia, and you still don't get it. But your hair is perfect," as Justin Trudeau shows off his photo op looking at bombed out buildings in the middle of a place, as if this makes any difference to the war effort. What does him being there with fancy hair do for this situation? Here he is. Here's Jade saying Trudeau is maskless in Ukraine, but still continues to wear them in Canada. This is 2 days ago. How does he feel safe around all those unvaccinated people? How does he tolerate them? I know, they're not Canadians. Showing off Justin's lack of respect for his fellow Canadian citizens over in Canada. And it's just utter dismay, like disrespect for the fact that we see you. We see what you're doing. He, of course, knows that his media will get behind him 100% because he pays them to the tune of $1.4 billion per year. But let's move on. Ryan Garrettson says the overseas Trudeau, Joly, and Freeland do not need masks indoors or out. Handshakes are good overseas as well, but at home it's elbow bumps. This should disqualify him immediately from any decision regarding health as they make up their own rules as they go. End the mandates. Yes, and we have been calling for an end to the mandates as mandates have been lifted across the world. Here we are in Canada with still mandates. But the thread continues. Trudeau thanks railway working in Ukraine and beats the piss out of truckers in Canada. Don't let Trudeau back into Canada. Zelensky, keep him. And here's Trudeau giving his platitudes as he did to truckers all but, a year and a half ago? Only to beat them up when they resisted the mandates in Canada.
Hi there, this is Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada. And I really want to take a moment to say thank you to all the railway workers of Ukraine. It has been an extremely difficult time, but you're there to help people get out, to bring necessary goods and supplies in, and you're stepping up to continue to keep Ukraine free and strong. Thank you for everything you're doing. Slava Ukraini.
Yeah, and stay in line because if you step up against what he has to say at any given time, he would redact his thanks and send in the troops. We know that by experience. Trudeau, this is from Maxime Bernier, the leader of the PPC party in Canada, People's Party of Canada. Trudeau hid at the cottage during the Freedom Convoy instead of meeting Canadian truckers fighting for their jobs. But he cares enough about Ukraine to find the courage to visit a war zone, not even wear a mask. We have Ian Miles Chong, an American journalist, getting in on the action, saying Trudeau could visit Ukraine in the middle of a war for a photo op with Zelensky, but he was too afraid to speak to the Freedom Convoy truckers. What do you know? What do you know? And somebody replying with a Paul Joseph Watson tweet saying, back in 2020 when the protests were burning cities down, get over it, chuds. It's fiery, but mostly peaceful protest. And then back in 2022, no, this is literally terrorism's. My ears hurt from all the honking. What else do we have here? We have Nicole Siemens. Thought for the night. I actually think Trudeau has majorly screwed up on this trip to Ukraine. I think even the most hardcore maskers are going to see this hypocrisy of Trudeau walking around the Ukraine maskless and there's no coming back to Canada and putting the mask back on. But I would say they would accept that challenge because of just the cognitive dissonance that the most crazy maskers we've seen. We've seen some of them. They'll go with anything the CBC says. Ryan Gerritsen again with the. This is what happens when the speechwriter wasn't invited to the Ukraine U2 concert. Trudeau is an embarrassment, and here's some platitudes.
The Ukrainian language and culture has been celebrated and protected and taught in the kinds of schools that young people across the country, like our proudly Ukrainian-Canadian Deputy Prime Minister, attended when she was a young girl. The ties between Canada and Ukraine run deep, and if Vladimir Putin wants to keep handing out sanctions, he's going to have to sanction, about 38 million Canadians before we even begin to notice. And secondly, we will continue to do whatever is necessary to stand with Ukraine, not just because it's the right thing or because Ukrainians are our friends, but because it is also standing for the principles of democracy that keep Canadians safe, that keep people around the world safe.
Yeah, he really tripped over that one at the end there. trying to keep people safe in democracy. The democracy doesn't really work in his books. But these platitudes about standing with Ukraine, and it's just the current thing. It's Trudeau again with his current thing politics. And if the Ukrainians think he means anything by this, I'm sure they'll be mistaken. when the rubber meets the road, if the current thing is no longer Ukraine, he's gonna throw you by the wayside. Guarantee that. And here he is, of course. The embarrassment, him and his top brass trying to do the simple task of hanging a flag at the embassy in Ukraine. Should have just left it to the janitor, honestly. I'll just leave you with this. Completely useless. I'm sorry, I can't watch that anymore. Completely useless. Anyway, that's all I had for you this morning. I just wanted to share you what a lot of Canadians are putting their opinion out about what they feel about this trip to Ukraine with Justin Trudeau and his cabinet. I think it's an embarrassment. Of course, there are the usual screechers in agreement, with their support for, the dozens and dozens of them he has in the country, and they're out there. But I wanted to show you a little spotlight on what people actually feel. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video. If you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. Keep on trucking.